Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have for you some new stuff and some old stuff. So the new and the old all together, and some of the stuff that I want to show you today is going to be stuff that you maybe have seen and maybe haven't seen. This is something that we have not really seen yet, and that is whenever you see these like little blister packs, I call them blister packs of coins, we see a ton of this stuff coming out from yard sales and swap meet and offer up, and they are of course, all Chinese counterfeits. And one of the things that's interesting is I had not yet seen the smaller denominations. Now, obviously, you're probably asking about what this is. This piece here that's designed to look like a gold coin, it's designed to be like if a $5 gold coin went into the Morgan die presses and accidentally struck a Morgan die. Of course, that's just spurious at the beginning, right? So this, though, when you look at from a distance, a lot of these little half dimes actually look pretty good. One of the things that's interesting about them, though, is they're closer in size to that of a dime. I mean, they are almost exact same size as a dime. And in fact, the funny part about this video is, as I'm filming this, I grabbed a bunch of dimes because when I glanced at these before, you know, I thought, oh, look at all those little fake dimes. You know, a half dime is going to be much smaller than that. So the point about this, of course, is to try to take a closer look and get an understanding of what these counterfeits look like, what we're seeing. What I want you to notice is this is a typical counterfeit that's coming out right now. We're seeing a ton of this stuff. Is you're going to have that really smooth field and it's kind of light, and then you're going to have the dark recesses. So when you send a coin into the grading company, they say it's been clean or altered, you know, and what they see is a light field and light devices, but with dirt, like dirt all around the devices. That's because these coins have all been treated to make them look that way. So like, look at this $50 here, where once again the field is light and then around the devices it's all darker. And they're doing that to try to make it look old. They are antiquing or aging the coins that way. So as always, one of the things that we're going to look at when it comes to these guys is going to be the overall appearance and strike. One of the things that's interesting when you look at the dates, if you look at dates, everything on these counterfeits are still kind of mushy, fat. Look, the stars are kind of fat instead of precise. Now, even on the smaller details on these guys here, when you look at, you know, the lettering, it's like really tight and small, and then it's really fat in other areas. It's all over the place. And then your detail on the faces are always fun. The dates seem a little bit fat. So even on these old worn dimes, if we look at a real one, let's get a reference here. You can just see the difference in quality of style on the date and the lettering. All of that is very, very different. So, but wait, there's more. So of course, you know, I get all these gold coins in that now these are fairly obvious. Right, so like these guys, they look like brass, and I should have thrown a gold coin in here so you could see the difference. You know, this actually looks more like gold in color, but these things are very obviously brass. If you saw them in front of you, you would know right away that they are not gold in any way, shape, or form. So that's the good news. The bad news is, of course, if you're colorblind and you just see one of these things, they actually look halfway decent compared to a lot of the other counterfeits that we've seen. You know, they still are lacking in detail in general. They don't actually have real luster to them. It's kind of hard to describe because you do see like the flow of the metal there, but it's not actually struck like a gold coin would be struck. In other words, the surface qualities are very different. You have a completely flat surface. There's all the lettering is wrong. All the lettering is like single dimensional. On the gold coins, you have like that little line that goes inside the lettering. So we get a lot of stuff in that's really obvious. Like for example, this $1881. And then I don't see many commems, but like this Hawaiian, which almost looks like a cartoon. You know, I really don't see that many of those Hawaiians. Same with this Norfolk here. You know, that's something I don't see. I actually had a gentleman bring in an entire blister pack of the entire commem set, which I'm going to see if I can get from him to show to you guys. This is fun because this is a 1964 peace dollar, so that's a little bit off, right? So the peace dollar, they were going to restrike and circulate in 1964, and of course there are none known in public spaces to people, not that we can talk about in public without getting in trouble. So one of the things that is concerning, though, is the new occurrence of smaller denominated coins, and they're coming in these holders that are, you know, make them look really old. So like this, if a collector brought this into you and you were just at the coin club or whatever and you saw it, you'd be like, oh, you got a 2-cent piece there, you know, and it's going to be hard to see through here. But a funny thing is it says 1868 and this is 1866. So they didn't even get the date right. But you can see a little bit better on some of these other pieces that are here that once you look closely at them, they're just a little bit off. And they're really much better looking than a lot of the other coins are. What's interesting about this these 2-cent pieces is you almost have to look at them from a distance to see what's wrong with them, because they look both worn and lustrous at the same time. So, you know, it has this appearance as though it's worn, but it also has this appearance as though it's uncirculated. You see how it looks like it's a, you know, red coin, but then you look and it's like, where are all the devices? Where's all the detail? Those wheat stalks just kind of blend in to the surface of the coin. And so this type of stuff, I think, like these 2-cent pieces, I think would fool a lot of people, because they're really a lot better than the ones that we did recently. We had a video a couple months back showing some of these fake 2-cent pieces. You know, and these ones are much more convincing as far as to the untrained eye, because the details are a lot better, right? Like, it's not sharp enough, but the line work is better, if that makes sense. You know, it's still missing detail. It's still not struck up as high as a real coin would be, but overall the lettering matches much better than some of these silver coins do. So out of the frying pan into the fryer. So here we go. We've got this nickel, which also, if you look at it at a glance, it looks pretty good. But then you look at the date. Whoops, sorry. And the date like runs into the rim, and the lettering is really, really rough. Once again, you get this really soft, flat, mushy strike on all the other detailed areas. So everywhere there should be lines, it's like a solid bar. And reverse, one of the things that you're seeing again is, if you look at the 5 and you look at the stars, they're not that far off. But then look at the United States of America. It looks like an old school typewriter just kind of punched those letters in there. And it's way off from what the lettering should be. The lettering should be, you know, on that coin a little bit more broad. I want to show you an obvious one. So this Indian cent 1869, which is not the right material or anything. So of course, now I'm showing you this and I'm thinking I should go ahead and check the Judd book and make sure this isn't a pattern, right? An aluminum pattern. But once again, even the patterns, you know, you're not going to have that big, fat, ugly date on there, right? But once again, wrong metal. The strike on the reverse is actually really good. I mean, that's like very close to what an Indian cent should look like. So there's those. And what did I save the best for last? A little bit. Yeah, I've got these. So I have some commems here, which I haven't seen before. And I want to look closer at these, because these are the ones that are even scarier, because the less frequently you see a coin, the more likely it is that you'll make a mistake on it, right? So on these guys at a distance, they're all really good. So at a glance, I was like, oh, look at that. Now the luster's wrong because it's not made out of silver. So as soon as you turn it, you're like, okay, what's going on? Something, is this washed out? Did somebody dip it 10,000 times? But then as you look closer, you're like, wait a second, there's no detail. This thing is a little bit light. They do weigh actually within like a half a gram. They were close in weight. But this is where you get down to just, there's no detail in the back of the coin. And then you start to see there's like pitting on the entire surface of the coin. So the entire surface of the coin has this kind of granular pitted look to it and this real soft mushy strike. Okay, so in this one it's fairly obvious because it's missing so much detail. Now what I want you to pay attention to though is the overall granular finish. Over the word trail, over the date, over this bottom surface here, because that's a telltale sign that you're going to see again. So now as we move on to this California, it's a similar story to where, you know, from a distance it might look pretty good, but then up close, now do you see that surface, how that surface looks the same as the surface of the other coin did? It's got this granular finish over all the lettering. Over all the lettering here under Jubilee in 1925. The entire bear. The one that I found, I think, most disturbing was this Maryland, because now that you've seen the finished quality of those other two, and you can understand, okay, this has the exact same colors as those other two. It's like this kind of off yellow, looks a little bit toned over. But, you know, it's not quite right. But if you saw this without seeing the other coins, it's actually pretty well made. This one looks the most like the real coin. It just, up close even, you see the lettering is actually really well done. You know, which is never a good sign. But once again, you do start to see that pitting in the field throughout the surface of the coin. But this would probably fool a lot of people. But I want to see if I can get a close-up of what this field looks like, so you can see what I'm talking about when it's surface quality. All right, now look at, once you get a 20 power loop, and this is, and actually with my eye and with my 10 power I can see some of this stuff, but on the camera it's a little bit harder. You see all those dots above the 9 in 1927? That's a telltale sign, but also the overall quality of the surfaces. So all that lettering is almost kind of has this arid, pitted look to it, right? And so that should all come to a nice solid state. It shouldn't be pitted looking. And then the telltale sign on counterfeits in general is when you see those marks that are raised. There'll be like little dimples, little pimples. So there's some more tooling marks above the A and between the A and the U. Right, and then that line coming off the lion's ear, there's this big line that stretch up. And those are things that on older professional counterfeits you can look for. Those little tool marks, the dots between the first and the second 7. Oh, you know, all that type of stuff is going to be telltale signs on counterfeits that are not this modern, but even the older counterfeits. So those are things to look for in general when you're putting together, when you're looking at coins and trying to determine if something is real or fake. So, this is going to sound funny, but there's a little dot on his nose, and that looks actually more like something that you wouldn't normally see because it's not a contact mark. So, all right. So I wanted to share some more of those counterfeits with you, starting with these little guys, these half dimes that are the size of a dime, and moving on up. You get from the absurd like brass stuff that's easy to see, Hawaiian stuff that's just, looks like a cartoon, to stuff that's actually fairly well convincing, especially at a glance, especially if someone's getting older, and your vision is starting to fail. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Leave your comments down below. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.